My name is Ricardo Dunkel. I'm the Technical Director of the Open Industry Alliance. And today we have a series of lectures. This is where I want to start. So we are going to talk about the digital twin. And you know, this is a broad topic and everybody has a different understanding. I want you in the beginning to understand that the lectures we provide until the afternoon are all related with a red line accordingly to the digital twin, mostly based on the asset administration shell. This is just to motivate you to get different impressions of different topics like DEXB for process and impressions from Andreessen-Hauser as a component and supplier to provide you a red line and provide different point of views for the digital twin. Yeah. If there are questions around, you can find us at the booth. We can have a talk afterwards and in between. And if there are upcoming questions, we will clarify them. Okay, so far so good. I just want to start you with a short introduction about digital twins. And at first, to know who is in the audience, I want to ask, and maybe you can raise your hands, are you already part of the OI4 community? Okay, so everybody else has to leave, sorry. No, it's not. But it's good to see that we have members here around. And I shortly start with an introduction. I don't want to bore you too long. You can find more information on our booth. But the first thing is we are an implementation alliance. And what you see here is, and this is also important, we are not here to create the next standard. We are not here to change the world in once. We are here to work with standard organizations and facing the customer in the end. You see that our members, our community itself, are going for the challenges of the end customer. This is where we're hunting for, everybody in the OI4, and I think also in the audience. Just that you know where you can locate the Open Industry 4 Alliance in the world of different associations. And of course, a first impression and also the last slide for the introduction, that you get a rough impression who is participating in the Open Industry Alliance. And by a quick look, you will realize for sure this is a mixed setup. So we are not only machine builders, we are not only component suppliers or software integrators. We have a very broad ecosystem because we strongly believe we need every participant in the ecosystem to make the digitalization for Industry 4.0 successful. Nobody can do this alone. I hope you can agree with that. And just that you get the impression from component supplier, machine builder, operators and software integrator, we got almost every discipline on board and also different industries, and this is very important. So it's a little bit confusing to hear myself when I'm speaking, so maybe I took it away. So I hope it's not that confusing for you. But let's start quickly. We are challenging the complexity, and therefore we also want to start with a quick image we designed, and this shows how the world looks today. And if you look to your company and to your ecosystem, I strongly believe you will find yourself in some spot around. The message is here, everybody is connected in a different way to each other, we use different formats, we use different systems, and the bad thing on this case is, if you go to your supply chain or your project in an operating plant, this is getting even more complex, meaning your supplier has the same challenges as you and even a more complex ecosystem by buying materials, delivering stuff and that. So as bigger your ecosystem grows, the more complexity will raise automatically. And we should challenge this. Yes, and this is the idea where I came to the digital twin and also the challenges we want to face, and ask yourself, with the current situation in your company, in the world, in the country, in the industry, does it help to raise the complexity, introducing a new system, have a long project runtime, have a new protocol and stuff like this? And if you look to the main aspects, and I know they are familiar and you know them already, it doesn't help if complexity on a technical basis raises. And these are the challenges everybody, independent of the industry and the sector, is working on, have to solve for their own. Yes, this is just an introduction. When we now came to a more focused point of view, we simulated the image you see before, because we also distinguish between the plants itself, the software integrator and stuff like this. And you see it's like In German, you say the Wollknäuel, you pull one line and the other, and you don't know what's happening in the end. Yes, and this is the situation today, which is mainly responsible for raising project cost and integration costs, because that's the area I came from in the last 20 years. Yeah, what we want to go to do is to say, no, we can and won't reinvent the wheel, but what we can all achieve together is putting a center of the universe, of the gravity, whatever, and this is called digital twin. Yeah, and the digital twin, based on the asset administration shell, which is basically just the technical base for a digital twin. We will come on the details later on, but for now it's important. We don't want to replace the protocol. We don't want to replace every existing process. It's just, if you imagine the first image, to reduce the complexity by summarize different aspects and anchor points in a digital twin. This is the way to go, make it easier to access information, documentation, and also reduce project costs to implement new suppliers in your supply chain. These are the opportunities we are talking about. And now the upcoming question is, maybe there are so many people here, if I ask everybody, what do you understand of a digital twin? I think I get at least 50 answers of that. And I'm not here to change that. Yeah, it's a neutral thing. We all know that. But I want to provide you a solution to that. And we use, not only we are because in the Dutch area, but also in our internal project calling Next Bike, we use a bicycle as a common example because everybody understands a bicycle contains of different parts. And the message here is, please think of a digital twin also as a distributed approach. So meaning if you are going to produce, and I think there's a pointer or something like this, but it doesn't matter. On the internal system, you're talking about how your shop floor is working, how you produce a bike or an asset or whatever. And then you start from the raw material going to the product. And then we have a process twin, how a wheel is created or manufactured and stuff like this. And then you see there are different aspects of digital twin. Yes, so if someone came around and say, yes, you forget the process twin, you forget the product twin, don't get scared. It's always the same. A twin contains of functions and properties. That's the main aspect. Yes, and if we go for the automation process, then we came up to the other systems, meaning we have to combine the shop floor with your internal systems like an ERP, like a CRM or whatever, to connect the information. And we will face an example with the digital product passport in the upcoming examples to explain how this may work. But I think you understand that you have different twins of different areas on the different layers working in your own company and also in the ecosystem itself. Yes? And so the message is, don't think of one twin for everything. It's not a holistic view and we don't want to rule the world. It's just about you have to respect the different aspects of a production of an ecosystem, and there you find automatically different twins of different kinds with different functionalities and different properties. Yes, and so this is just to summarize and also take a little bit the fear when we talk about the digital twin, that we slice the big elephant into pieces that we can eat, meaning we can talk about the material twin by only going this topic and this supply chain and stuff like this. And this is just to help you to understand, and also our members and our working groups when we are facing a project, what we are talking about. What use case we want to face and what kind of twin is related, so that we can know which kind of information is required to solve a specific challenge. This is the message mainly behind. Now you may ask, okay, how you do this? And when we started, I also as a member in 2019, we have a reference architecture. This is also available on our website, but this one is the development on the learnings, meaning we are talking not about one reference architecture with many components. We more go in this direction to say, okay, in the middle, this is the layer 3, this is your own company, this is your own manufacturing area. We are talking about the digital twin enablement. And then, of course, we have to connect and adopt the cross-company side, and we have to integrate different protocols and devices on the machine layer. And we go now, meaning for the last 6 to 12 months, for a thing called architecture guardrails, meaning we are looking for a dedicated use case, like automatic onboarding like remote device management, instrumentation management or stuff like this. And then we go and identify the components on the different layers or the required functionalities. So we are not creating one architecture decision board, we are creating use case related architecture guardrails, because something you will have on your shop floor. You have an edge device on your shop floor which is capable to do many things. You only get an arm on your shop floor, is a little bit smaller, so we can't and won't decide that. It's more important to say what's the functionality and what's the requirement. If you put it on the shop floor, on the top floor, on in the fog in between, we are not here to judge about that. Yeah, and this is the message. Maybe going one back to the digital twin itself, that you understand. Okay, related to the digital twin and the architecture guardrail, it's more easier to identify the customer need and the circumstances in your company, that we know what we are talking about. Yes, and all about cutting the big elephant into pieces you can handle in the end. Yes, nobody can eat an elephant in one piece. We have to cut it. And this is the similar approach we are going here. But talking about this, now I want to came up with a recommendation, I would say. If we talk about digital twins, and we also realize this within our members and our project, we are mostly talking about static information. So collecting information like the handover documentation, like the digital nameplate or the nameplate itself, they are static information you collect once and they probably never change over the whole life cycle. On the other hand, you got time series. So you want to know which data is produced by a motor or whatever, the runtime and stuff like this. So time series, operational data. And we all can do this today, aren't we? We can do this today. But then we came back to the complexity picture in the very first slide and say to integrate this, you need much effort, project runtime and stuff like this. And this reduces the project cost and stuff like this. But the more important aspect is here, when we once have a foundation of a language, we understand each other, the information model encapsulated in the digital twin and creating a good base into your company and your ecosystem, then in the future, maybe 12 to 5 years, whatever, we are in a situation where digital twin are interacting between itself. So machine components or a machine A and B is hand over. I produce something and now it's your turn to continue the production and stuff like this. This is the interesting aspect where we now creating everybody of us the foundation to enable us for autonomously communication between different parts. And now, just that you know what's the biggest learning after the last 12 months. Yes, so doing the homework is very important, but the future, reducing the lack of workers, reducing the complexity, being more efficient regarding to other markets in China, in America, whatever, requires that we have a good foundation to be future-proof and do the fancy stuff. Yes, but therefore we have to go walking and start the first steps. And I just put it here and also in the key takeaways that you understand what is the learning of us and our members within the last 12 months. Yeah. So this is a kind of sneak preview and also a kind of motivation which may help you to drive your road forward. But now talking about theory is endless and we can have many discussions, and I choose some examples I want to provide you from our projects, from our member companies, from our working group itself, that you might give an impression how you can benefit and where you can start. This is the intention right here, and also a motivation and invitation for you to go after the panel discussion, came over the booth, have the area here around, and go in a more detailed talk regarding to your company. So I don't cover every example, but you can imagine. Let's start at the central asset management. When we're talking about the complexity, and this is where I came from, I did system integration and conversions for almost 20 years. This is the picture where we start from. Okay, you mean central asset management, I got my ERP, why I do need stuff? Yes, very simple. Because you get information from a supplier, you have to provide to your customer information, and they all have their own ecosystem, their own ERP and stuff like this. And I just choose 3 spots here to say, okay, what is required to adopt this? And you see, you will get from one system to another and stuff like this. And like I said, I'm an IT guy. I have to mention this at the very first beginning. This is what I've done many years. And how does it look like? You create a table and another table and a helping table to connect the ID of this system to that system and stuff like this. And the infrastructure, requirements on the infrastructure and stuff like this is also growing. Just to know you have this ID in this area and this in that area, and this raises the complexity and also the project cost. If somebody tells you, no, it's just the ID, we can handle this because we have related database systems, yes, technical, that's true, but a part of a project for conversion is bigger than the people may tell you. Yeah, and this is the challenge. Maybe came back to say just to adopt or introduce a new supplier. Ask yourself what needs to be done to introduce a new supplier in your ecosystem, and then you will realize where the complexity came from. Yeah, and this is not about judging. This is the normal process, and I'm here just to provide you a sneak preview where you can start. Okay, because the digital twin provides a global asset ID. It's called global asset ID and it's unique. And the difference on that is that the uniqueness is over the whole life cycle. Meaning if Paul producing an asset and hand it over to me and I hand it over to Akram, the global asset ID remains the same. The ID for your system may change, may be related over other IDs, but the global asset ID will remain over the whole life cycle. And that's a good foundation. If you think about complexity, at least one point, we can reduce it. And yet now from IT perspective, I hope you can follow my minds. We talk about loose coupling, meaning if I have my ID from Paul and I hand over it to Elko, then we have a loose coupling. They don't talk to each other, but they know that's the ID of the asset you provided to me without connecting you directly. And this will reduce the complexity in your ecosystem because you don't have to implement the next provider, the next component supplier with the next ecosystem, with the next protocol. At least a starting point. And like I mentioned before, it sounds easy, but believe me, this is a very good starting point for you. And the important thing I write, it's repeatable. Because, and this is maybe also a challenge, yes, after talking to some people, I don't say it's a homework. I call it challenge, but I really recommend to start here. You see here an example of our member R.S. Schneider. It's a nice image, so I just took it. And here you see how the global asset ID is formed. It's an IEC norm, yes, so we also put the IEC in the documents. And this is a repeatable stuff, meaning knowing Paul's name, Paul's company, and the serial number enables me or Elko in the system to repeat the creation of a global asset ID with the given details. And I really recommend you want to go back to the IEC norm itself. I think you find it here. Yes, it's the IEC 61407. And this is my recommendation for you because in the last events you get an impression of the hackathon in Delft soon. And in the other lectures, we often get the question, okay, this sounds good, but where do I start? What should I do? Because project, I don't have money, I don't have people, my supplier wants to get paid and stuff like this. And we think a lot about where we can really start. And my recommendation at this point is, if you go internally in your company and see if you are able to create the global asset ID for your assets in your company. And you will find gaps in your company because the ERP system contains some information the MES don't have or the other way around. And my recommendation is to start internally, create for your assets the global asset ID in an ERP system, adding a table, adding a column, whatever, and go step by step through the departments of your company and the systems of your company. Yeah. And what you can benefit from in a very short term is that if you have started a project or want to start a project, you can say, okay, this global asset ID is the connection point between our system and your new system you are introducing. Yeah, and this sounds very easy and you think, this is totally lame, but believe me, this is the first important step you can examine if your database, meaning the foundation of your data in your company and the different systems, are capable to handle a global asset ID. And this will shortly reduce also the amount of cost of a project integration or whatever. And now the interesting part, what happened? Paul is getting sick, he can't deliver the component anymore. But I know this is the asset ID, this is the function I require, and I go to the next one and say, you can do the same stuff? And you say, yes, I can. And by the loose coupling, you are able just to replace a different part of your ecosystem and not touching every part of the other systems. Yes, maybe it sounds a little bit strange. If you got some question, I can talk 2 days about this, about integration, and I want to provide you a talk after that. But really, a serious recommendation: go for the IEC norm, create the assets in your company, and then we go next step and say you are supplier of Paul. Can you do the same stuff? Because, and now we came to the next part, and I hope you can follow my mind, because we have the digital product passport. Anybody heard of the digital product passport? Okay, a few people don't. That's a pity, because it's getting European regulatory soon, yes. But the important thing I want to transport with that, a digital product passport should contain different information. Which material contains with our headset, with energy consumption is doing right now by the lecture or has been consumed to produce those stuff. Yes? And as an end customer, in the end, at least that's a part of the goal, I go with the handy, scan it and say, okay, the carbon footprint of the headset is like this or that. Just an example, yeah? That you understand energy consumption, material for recycling or whatever. Or maybe you heard about the battery passport, another distinction of a digital product passport. And now the question, what is required to get the data for a product passport? You need your own data of your asset, of your production, and you need the one of supplier 1, supplier 2, supplier 3. So you have to go down to your supply chain, and everybody provides the same information for the cable, for the housing, for stuff like this. Without those information, you are not able to provide a digital product passport with the carbon footprint for the headset. I think this is I hope this is a very simple example. And now you may also relate to the stuff I told before, because without the global asset ID and a relation and a common language we are talking to each other, it's not possible to calculate this. Okay, it's possible, but your project cost will raise and raise and raise. Yes, and this is just an example. And of course there are some text, but I don't want to bore you with some text. You can find more information on DPP 440 EU and stuff like this. Just Google it, digital product, or Bing it, digital product passport, and you find many information about that. Yeah, this is just one example. The other example is, and I have to hurry a little bit, sorry, is the vulnerability management. I just took this from our working group, the remote device management, industrial cybersecurity working group. So we have technical working groups facing the different topics. And I just want to transport you today, if you look to your plant, which asset is there, which firmware is on the asset, which middleware using which libraries and stuff like this, mostly you don't know. Even if your operating plant is 20 years old or stuff like this, you got a sheet of paper, but there's nothing automated. And now the question is, if there's an exploit in the log4j or in the XYZ utils, some of you may use in the shop floor, meaning open source libraries, how you will realize you are affected. And the answer is you can't. Yes, nobody has the manpower to walk through every plant to every machine and collecting stuff like this. And I hope that you understand, if we are talking the same language, and this is the software bill of material, if you provide me your material, I provide you, and stuff like this in the same unified format, meaning a submodel of a digital twin, then it's easier for me as an operator to automate those systems. And say, yes, I'm affected, I should shut down my plant or not. Yes? If you don't know how to handle. And this is a challenge regarding to the Cyber Resilient Act we are facing too. And maybe you realize this goes also over the supply chain, and the foundation is the global asset ID. if you get a global asset ID and related information like the software bill of material and stuff like this, then you are capable, at least theoretically, to handle those challenges because you can identify your assets and you know what's running on. And there we can, I hope you can follow me, close the circle to the global asset ID. This is why I highly recommend to start at this point. Yeah, because every other use case requires the foundation, yes, for a digital twin. Otherwise, yes, it's not that easy, I would say. Okay, but next steps and takeaways. On the one hand, I want to create the awareness. AAS is not here as another protocol. We are not here, and I'm not selling the stuff. Yes, we are cooperating with other associations, so this is not our invention, but this is a neutral possibility, also from a technical point of view, not having a vendor login. This is created and developed by a community. The asset administration is driven or born in Germany by the platform Industry 4.0 and different companies. You also have Festo around and stuff like this, and Fraunhofer and TNO, and all of them are working in a vendor-free digital twin. And this is what the AAS is. The content of an AAS is not defined. It's a shell. This is why it's called asset administration shell. We can do process industry, we can do discrete or whatever. It doesn't matter in the end. Yeah? Don't be scared. The important thing for you is it's vendor neutral. This is the message.
Ricardo?
Yes, I'm running out of time.
No. I think there's a phone in your pocket ringing, or maybe one in the front row, because I hear a phone on the background. So it's either in your pocket or maybe the front row has a phone. It's an alarm.
It's the timer that I was over the time.
Okay.
I'll say. I'm over the time,
No
so
problem.
sorry. I just finished quickly. Rudolf, thank you very much. And it's a good example. You have technical possibilities. If you don't use it and realize it, then it doesn't matter in the end. Yeah. But I came back. Last words, famous last words. I showed you the funnel before, and why I show you this again? Because what we are looking for is, and what we want to motivate here is to say we are not doing this for our own, and nobody does this on charity purpose. Yes, we as a community with our members want to drive the customer projects, and this is also the call for action to you. I want to combine the academic procedure and the results, the white paper and the open source stuff, and many things we created in the past are there for use. They are not ready. The world is never ready. I think you all agree on that. But we are looking for people who want to contribute with their problems and with their solutions. So next step is you can register. A QR code will be shown soon. An online webinar. When you want to know more about the digital twin, you can provide your feedback that I want to talk about this and that in a more detailed way. We provide an online webinar very easily. You can join and totally free. Yes, in this year. This is the idea. The next one is maybe let's get physical in 24, 25 to say, let's have an on-site event. So we get motivated members in the Dutch area. We have also the relation to TNO and other associations here around. Yes, and we want to use it in Brainport, in the Dursamheitsfabrik in Dordrecht, whatever. We will find a place and we provide you, if you like, to talk about your pain points. It's not about to sell your product. It's about you have a problem and you don't know how to solve it because you have a complex ecosystem. Then just let's talk to each other to say, this is the use case, those are the guardrails, and we might provide you support starting your project in a proof of concept. And then the most important part, maybe next year, we should get serious. So a demonstrator is nice, but does a demonstrator help you in your production facilities? Probably not. But it's required to examine different solutions and approaches? Yes, it is. But the way we are looking forward is, and this is why I call it stop starting, start finishing, we should introduce all together as a European community new solutions, new innovations in a factory itself, in a plant, whatever. And this is where we are here to help, to support you on the process, to bring our network and also have a neutral perspective, because we are an association. We are not selling products. Our members does, of course, yes. But I'm not here to sell you stuff. I'm interested in your problems, in your area, in your factory, in your ecosystem, that we can face the challenge together. This is the call for action. And the best one, we have a proof of concept, we have demo factories around. Why not implementing it in a demo factory and then go to your plans? And this is the call for action. I hope the time was worth it. And now I'm just looking for the QR code, but somehow I missed it. Where it is? Okay, sorry, maybe I clicked it wrong. That's a pity, but I want to provide you... Yeah, there it is. Sorry, my technical capability was at the end today. But you will find a forms. You can point your name and stuff like this, and also add the requirements from your point of view. Are you want to get informed in an online webinar? Are you want to participating in an on-site event or whatever? Just leave, choose the different options, leave your comment and your wishes also, and then afterwards we will collect and also summarize this with our Dutch colleagues and associations around to find a good date, a good place and stuff like this. Yes? So it's up to you pushing us in the right direction.